Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody in between, and welcome to the BSTV Poopcast with myself, Clyde Whiting, and also joined by Mr. Pete Bingham. Good evening. And we also have our very first special guest, Mr. Tony Leadfoot Kloosterman. Good evening. So, guys, back by popular demand, we have done the podcast before, but this time we've stepped it up a notch, and we are going to be talking about not just the V8 ESC League that we did last time, but also all of our all of our BSTV leagues. Plus, we have our new special feature, which is Garage 101. Viewers in the UK have probably seen Room 101. Anybody that's not in the UK and has no idea what we're going on about, then please feel free to Google an episode and find out what it's all about. But we'll tell you a little bit more about it when we get to it. So, gentlemen, let's kick this off with our GT4 TCR League. And Pete... this is one, I'm going to start off with you, because it's turned into, it's a fantastic league, isn't it? You know, the quality of the driving, the quality of the cars as well now, it's really turned into something special. Yeah. Now, I think we might, I say might, have a bit of an issue with the sounds. So I'm just going to try and do something special, he says. I think you just love it when it all goes wrong. Where is Sam when you need him, huh? Yeah, apparently nobody can hear you and nobody can hear Tony. So I have a feeling it could be something to do with that. Right, hopefully Ant Woodward can clarify that Pete and Tony are now with us. Tony, as Pete just talked an absolute load of rubbish, nobody wanted to hear it anyway. Have you managed to catch any of the broadcasts for this GT4 TCR challenge?
Actually, just about every week I tune in and watch a bit of it. Some of the racing is just exceptional. Very entertaining and some close racing. I'd like to see it. I can mention one thing, please, Clyde. A couple of people are asking about where they can post their comments, and maybe they're not aware that they have to go to the interview to actually speak to us afterwards.
Yeah, that's right. So what we've done, obviously from the previous podcasts, we used to have lots of people join on the chat, mainly abusing me and Pete. I'll give them that. But nobody was really brave enough to come into here and talk to us virtually face to face. So we decided that we wouldn't have chat on this time, and if people wanted to talk, they would have to come in and talk to us. So it'll be interesting to see whether this works or whether it puts people off. At the moment, it's going to be putting everybody off because apparently nobody can still hear you two. Well, that's not a bad thing, to be honest. I will play with some settings. He says, Ant says he thinks he can hear you very quietly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to whack that bar up. Pete, if you could just give Ant a test for me.
Test Ant. Oh, I'm very, very faint. I can just about hear myself, but it's so quiet, it's unreal.
Okay, give him another test.
Testing. Testicles. Same.
Okay, so there is definitely something going on. Let me go into the sound properties. Okay, this is not looking good. I can't find anything. What's this one? Here we go. Wow. Oh yeah. I found something that I'm attempting to turn up. Anything getting any better? Okay, one more setting to try. Let's go. Yeah, if you could just talk in. Ant's trying to give me some instructions. Audio.
Still doing
Checked and outputting. Right. Okay, just say something for me, Pete. Yeah, see, you're working fine on my end. Okay, I don't know how else I can turn you up, if I'm honest.
I think it's a problem with both of us, Clyde.
Yeah, it's obviously some reason why you two are not coming through. And it's a pity Sam isn't listening. Oh, hang on. Ant said he just heard Tony. Oh no, he's just as quiet as Pete. Right, bear with us. We are busily trying settings, believe me. That's all about microphones. So is that. Nothing in there. Active sources. Yep. Okay, try something, Pete. Oh, I wonder if it's that one. Hang on. Try it now.
Very much trying everything. Hey! I can hear myself. Oh my god, it's so much better.
Right, so sorry about that, folks. Little bit of trouble there. So let's start that again.
Hang on. Tony, call Clyde a knobhead.
Yes. Clyde, can you figure this out?
He's done it. Yeah, it's class.
There you go. So sorry about that, folks. Let's start again. Evening, Pete.
Evening, Clyde. Evening, everybody.
Good evening, Tony.
Good evening, Clyde.
Right, so we got as far as the BSTV GT4 TCR challenge before we was rudely interrupted with some major foo-bars on my part. So Pete, I was saying just how good this series has turned out, and the standard of driving, how respectful it is, how friendly it is. I was going to say, obviously, you're a driver in the series. You're a participant in the series. What makes it so good?
And like I said, even though nobody could hear me and my words of wisdom, it reminds me of when we transitioned from V8s, the old version of the cars, from the Falcon, etc., into the new version of the cars, and we brought a whole load of talent with us. Now the GT4 TCRs have got like 8 cars to choose from. They've all got some benefits. Some of them, the BOP is a bit weird. It lends itself to a lot of discussion, a lot of competitiveness, a lot of entertainment for the people watching, and sometimes a lot of frustration for the people driving if you're in one of the cars, which is the recipient of the bad BOP at the minute. But you're right. The right behaviours have come through. The same behaviours that we see in the V8s: the respect, the sportsmanship, the fair driving. It's all very healthy for both those two leagues.
Yeah, certainly. And Tony, obviously I heard you, but nobody else did. You tend to watch most of these broadcasts when you can?
Yeah, I usually get in, watch a few laps, half an hour or an hour of them. Very impressed with the quality of racing. One of the drivers that stands out for me is Stephen Walker. He's had an exceptional year, I believe.
Yeah, I think he's just very lucky, to be honest. Let's have a look at where we are in the series. So, we've had 3 rounds this month. Pete, start us off. Round 4 at Summit Point. A win in GT4 for Simon Trendle and a win for Spencer McCarthy in TCR. What do you remember of that race?
I remember doing my practice laps and thinking, actually, I could be quite good round here. And then going into a practice session with everybody else, probably one of Carl Hardy's that Wobbly seems to try and claim every time, and thinking, oh my God, I was so deceived by myself because I'm pathetic. It was a track that you go to Summit Point many times as a rookie because it's probably the only track you've got, along with that and Okayama. And then you do loads of laps when you're going through all your other licenses on the road courses, and you think, I know this track. And then you get in a race with the likes of Spencer McCarthy and Stephen Walker and Matt Elmore, and you think, I know nothing about this track. I can't drive this track. I'm certainly not quick round here. And they ran away with it. Gary gave a good fight in a Honda that was, the balance of power and performance is pretty poor at the minute for that car. But the Audi's nowhere to be seen at the minute. And the other cars, the 2 Hyundais, are absolutely monumental. And I was aware at the Summit Point race of what was going on in GT4 as well. And Simon did really well to keep Wobbly behind him. And Stefan was just monumental in that race. It was great.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how many times you can get monumental into this Poopcast.
Well, there's plenty more times.
So, round 5, Long Beach. Wobbly Kneecaps took away the win in GT4 and Mr. Powell in TCR. Now, Tony, Long Beach, we've done it in V8s. We did it when it was what did they call it? A tech track. It's a fantastic little track, isn't it? And it seemed ideally suited to these GT4s and TCRs.
Yeah, it's a really fun track. It's tight. It's the walls are close all the time, and that hairpin, the final corner, is always one that can cause lots of mayhem. But it's just a great place to race at.
Yeah, we've. I can remember, I don't know if it was in a race with Pete or commentating on a race with Pete, and there was a bit of a car park at one point, and it is one of those tracks, isn't it, where it either goes really, really well or it goes really, really badly.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, if you watched the IndyCar race there a couple of weeks ago, you may have noticed one of the cars in the fountain.
To be honest, I tried to watch IndyCar last season, and it really bored me senseless. I don't know why. There just wasn't enough excitement for me. But yeah, I love that. I don't like driving that track, but I love watching racing around that track. And then Pete, we went to your favourite track, Barber Motorsports Park, where everybody was expecting you to win, and you were shit.
Yeah, it's my second favourite track. Road Atlanta is my favourite track. Barber is my second favourite track, and only because it's probably the track that I've gelled with the most in the V8. I did very well until Johnny Brandon said that the only reason that Nicole Foggy wasn't pulling away from me is because he had a rubbish setup, which I thought was very, very nice of him to say that. This time round, I couldn't get any pace out of the Honda at all. It wasn't even tough to handle the car. It just had no corner exit speed, and everybody was mullering me. And I can't even blame the car because the likes of Spencer are still driving it and doing very well in it. So it's nothing to do with that. I just didn't get together with the car track combination. But you're right, I was utterly rubbish at Barber.
Yeah.
Pete,
Hello.
did you say that you actually gelled with the V8 at one time?
Clyde, can you move this conversation on quickly, please?
No,
Because I'm now taking abuse from somebody that I don't normally take abuse from.
I'm interested in the answer. And when in your iRacing career you actually thought you gelled with the V8?
There's going to be a lot of silence follows that, but I could say it was something. Oh, go on.
Even, I suppose it would be handy if you gave us your definition of gelled.
Got round a lap without crashing.
Well,
It's fairly straightforward, really, isn't it?
okay, well that's fine. So, guys, you can see from the standings in GT4 and TCR, we are halfway through the season, and it's tight at the top, Tony.
Certainly is. The standings are very close in both divisions, aren't they?
Yeah, it's I think, especially in GT4, you've got Wobbly Kneecaps and Simon Trendle that are basically trading wins, and Jamie Wilson is picking up the pieces. And then in TCR, I'm sure you would agree, Pete, we've seen, I wouldn't call it dominance, but Spencer McCarthy and Sam Blease at times have been head and shoulders above the rest of the drivers, but they've had their fair share of issues this season, and then we know how good Stephen Walker is. As Tony pointed out a little while ago, it wasn't that long ago that he won 11 out of 12 rounds. He seems to have stepped it up again, and then we've got drivers like Russell Cowell, Shane Powell. They're all getting up there and getting in amongst the points and taking points away from the drivers that you would expect to gain big points every week.
I think Spencer McCarthy and Sam Blease haven't had the best of starts to the season. They've both had their own incidents. A lot of them have been self-inflicted, don't get me wrong, and therefore it's part of the normal racing environment. But I think that Simon Cowell, is that his name? No, Russell. That was a joke, by the way. And Mr. Walker, Lucky Wookie Walker, they've got the rest of the season to fend off the geodesic guys, because they do have a lot of speed, and in the tracks that are to come, I think you'll see Sam Blease and Spencer McCarthy float to the surface of the league again. I really do.
Yeah, you could be right. It's interesting. Well, you can see from the team standings that they're not really having it their own way this season. Although I think Spencer McCarthy is in a separate team under the geodesic banner, and Sam Blease is with Matt Flannery. But they're not even showing in the top three of the team standings. It's Team Chimera really that are leading the way with, as I said, Simon Trendle swapping wins with wobbly kneecaps, and then Jamie Wilson picking up the pieces to pick up big points as well. But we go on, sorry.
But yeah, you're right about that. I think in the individual standings for TCR particularly, I think you'll see Spencer McCarthy and Sam Blease, if they can sort their incidents out, their accidents and their self-inflicted injuries, I think you'll see them rocket to the top, because the two of them are exceptional in terms of their ability to handle these TCR cars.
Yeah, and obviously, after round 6, the group stages of the head-to-head was over, and I think the standout quarter-final in TCR has got to be Spencer McCarthy and Sam Blease.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic second half of the season. When we swap cars, there's going to be a mass exodus, I think, away from the Honda, because I'm definitely going to work away from it until I race and do something with that BOP. I know Gary's already entered his, I think. I think that 1 minute after it was permitted, he was allowed to. He did. And I think others will follow. It's a frustrating drive at the minute, the Honda.
Yeah, and that is the beauty of having a number of cars in the same class. The drivers do get this chance to change. GT4, obviously, they don't have the quarterfinals because of the low numbers at the start of the season. But looking at those two semi-finals that will start in 3 weeks' time, you would expect on current form that the final would be wobbly kneecaps against Simon Trendle, but it only takes one slip up in either of the 2 point scoring races, and we could have somebody different in the final, Pete.
Yeah, Wobbly and Simon are standout. They pretty much are, aren't they? Jamie could easily get a decent result and over Wobbly, because Wobbly he is obviously very good in any car, but he has some wobbly moments, is the best way to describe them. And he had one in the F4 the other night. I know that we don't practice to the same degree in that car, etc. But he did have a moment, and it did affect his race, and that could easily happen in the GT4.
It most certainly can. And Tony, this little head-to-head thing that we're doing, obviously we decided to give it a go in this GT4 TCR league, and then we stretched it across to V8s. Do you think it's added a little something?
I think it's in the back of your mind. You're obviously thinking about the person that you're against, and I think Stephen Phillips mentioned it the other day that one bad race and you think you might be out, but then the next race things even out again. So, yeah, it does bring an added element to the series for sure.
Yeah, so I thoroughly enjoy it, and I think it's something that we can keep going and maybe improve on as time goes on. Pete's had to disappear and answer his front door. I think his puncture repair kit has turned up, but I think on the whole, the GT4 TCR Challenge League has been very strong. As we said at the start, the racing is fantastic. The cars, I know drivers say, oh, the Honda's rubbish and people don't love this and that sort, but the racing is always close, and we've had some really good battles on it. So, long may it continue. time now for me to bring in our first guest of the evening. Mr. Andrew Hoffman, welcome to the booth. I think he must have gone for a foggy, because we can't hear him. I think he must... Lights are on, but nobody's home. Okay, we'll come back to Hoff later. So let's bring in another guest. Mr. Ant Woodward, welcome to the booth.
Hello.
Hello. So welcome to the Poopcast.
Thank you very much.
What have you got to say to us?
Oh, I don't know really. I just thought I'd come in and say hello.
Oh, that's fair enough. That's always nice. So anybody that doesn't know, Ant drives in the V8 ESC League. He has dabbled in the GT4 TCR. And I'm actually hoping that he's going to dabble in the F4 League as well, because that's shaping up to be fantastic. But more on that later on. So, Ant, tell us how your season is going. You can leave out the quitting and coming back part if you want to. And yeah, just tell everybody at home, how it's going.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible, same as the last few seasons. But it's always fun, so keep going and never quit, as the team name suggests.
Yeah, and did you? I don't know. This might be a bit personal. I don't know, but that's me. Did you get to the bottom of your troubles? Was you putting too much pressure on yourself? Was you, and believe it or not, this happens, was you trying too hard? Was Stacey beating you up? So something's changed, because last time out, after you'd quit and come back, it seemed, how can I put this? Like the old Ant was back.
Yeah, a lot of the above. A lot of stuff going on in real life.
Including the Stacey beating you up bit?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, real life stuff and work, trying to build a business, and that's going great. You're really busy, so you don't practice as much, and it's all about practice, right? But just felt for a long time I was missing something's missing. I shouldn't be this slow, just that feeling, and it's hard work, and like you don't seem to. You go the deciding factor. I come off, and it was genuine. I was quitting. The next morning I woke up and I came up to the room where my work stuff is and my sim rig, and that's another factor. Everything's joined here, so. And I was taking my monitors down and disassembling my rig, and just that feeling that like everyone's just always driving away from me. So a lot of leagues demand you be in 104% of speed, and I just felt, it's just not working anymore. So that was it, and I I have a lot of bad results. Never have a problem with it, but that one that time that just did me. It's a favourite track of mine as well, which I was looking forward to the track. So
yeah, we could never introduce the 104% rule, because obviously Pete would never get to race.
But I think it's a bit different. It's a bit different with the V8s as well, because the time span can be 3 seconds a lap on a long track. And you're still at a really good pace for anyone in a V8, but that's the talent of the league. And then that actual race, the race in question, there was no gap across the whole field. The whole field was on the pace. It was, except me, it seemed. So,
do you feel though that because it was a track that you favoured, and because the field was so close, that your expectation was very, very high, and therefore your disappointment was very, very high as well.
Yeah, and the season's been a bit like that because worked really hard for round one, really hard. There's AI available now on iRacing, and I like to practice with the AI and just slam out. I find a bit of a bore like driving around on my own. So with the AI, I can just do a race length set of laps, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's the same as me tootling around Summit Point, thinking, do you know what? I know this track. I'm going to be good at it. And then getting in the main practice session that Carl Hardy hosted and going, oh my god, I'm shit.
yeah, so
Same principle applies, right?
Yeah, and leading up to Knockhill round one, I was, I was for once, I was putting times in the team chat, and they were going, okay, they were having to work to match times, which is unheard of, right? So go into Knockhill and just disastrous two races, and I think it started there really.
And do you mind me asking, Anne, what changed your mind? Why did you come back?
I told him to take his head out of his ass.
And I mean that in a nice way, not why did you come back?
Yeah, so I mean, you start. Yeah, I was dead serious. Like I say, I'm taking the rig apart now. The next day, I'm taking the monitors apart. I'm like, I'd had a bad work week, and the rig is right in the middle of my work area. So I was like, right, it's in the way. It needs to go anyway, and at least I'll get some money for it. And I was dead serious, and like. What changed it? I don't know. Stacey, Stacey, you're not going to get rid of it. What will you do? It's a fair point.
It is. And do you think that doing the very realistic heel toe blipping, etc., holds you back in any way? Because that's quite complicated, isn't it? I tried doing it once, maybe, just because I thought, so easy, and nearly broke my ankle. Do you do that, Tony? Do you heel toe, or do you do auto clutch and auto blip?
I'm not that talented.
No, and that's why I'm asking the question, because I don't know whether your expectations are not just high but super high because you actually do the heel toe and the blip.
Yeah, well, the honest truth there is I'm not that talented, because if I was, you're seeing me up winning every race. So I guess there's an argument for that. Chris has told me since day one, left foot brake, you'll be faster. And you see it in the real world, the drivers, there's one driver in particular who's always right foot braked, and he's swapping. I think it may be Thomas Randall, he's learning, you see the process of him learning it. But it's funny because if I drive the TCR, I left foot brake.
Right, okay. So it's very much a car thing then?
It's as much for me as covering the clutch as, doing the blip. It's more the fact that I'm in a rear-wheel drive car and I want to be able to disconnect immediately by dumping the clutch.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Well, thanks for joining us, Anne, and thanks for being so honest. I think we've all had that moment when enough is enough, and I ain't doing this anymore. I'm not enjoying it. But then, some days you wake up and you go, yeah, do you know what? I'm not going to take it serious anymore. Me and many other iRacers have ploughed thousands and thousands of pounds into this hobby. And it's a shame when anybody gives up. So, I personally, and I'm sure Tony is your team boss, and Pete as the BSTV Joker, are glad that you did change your mind and you're back, and we look forward to seeing you out on track next weekend.
Yeah, it's right, really. What would you do? Like, it's, when I stop work, the first thing I think of is I'll get some laps in, so...
Yeah, it's not like you're good looking and you can go off and do some modelling or something.
Exactly.
He might be good for shoes or socks or something.
But no, the old
Weeds,
the Alt F4 League. Whenever you're talking about that, that was fantastic racing the other night.
Yeah, we'll be doing V8s next, and then we'll be going on to that. And yeah, you're absolutely right. But we're going to have to let you go, Anne, because we've got
No problem.
somebody else waiting to come in, and then we need to get on to the V8. So thanks ever so much for joining us on the first Poopcast, and let's hope it's not the last time we hear from you.
No, thanks very much as well. And I just, you know, I love everything you boys do. I never thought you could do it, either of you. I had every doubt in the world, but you smash it out the park every time. So cheers.
Yeah, thank you very much, and Woodward. Okay, before we go on to the V8s, because we've got another V8 driver waiting in the wings, it is Mr. Stephen Phillips coming to you live from New York.
Hey guys.
So, Stephen, what have you got to tell us?
I don't know, kind of the same as Ant. Figured I'd just come in and say hello, see what was... I don't think I've listened to this before, so I figured I'd pop in and say hello.
Well, you wouldn't have listened to it before, because this is the first one. But, again, you are one of our V8 drivers. How's your season going so far?
It's had its ups and downs. I absolutely detest Lime Rock. And I had some family over, and I said enough is enough. I'm not having any fun here. And I was like, I'm gonna go do something fun.
That's called doing a wobbly.
Yes.
And what about the rest of the season? Anything that jumps out to you and says, yes, I'm really looking forward to that one?
Ooh, that's a good question. I need to have a look at the schedule. I know Imola is next.
Yeah. Then we go to Donington. Wobbly's favourite.
I'm actually pretty excited about Donington. I don't know that I'll be able to do it. I have to have a look at my own calendar. But if I can, I would be very excited about it. I think I'm going to have to miss the first race at Imola, actually, but I may make it in for the second.
Okay, just a top tip, because they are both in the same server. You need to get logged in at the start of the session, or get somebody to log you in. After Donington, Road America.
Yeah, I actually really enjoy Road America. Tend to do pretty well there in the Porsche Cup and the GTE car. And then the rest of the season's a bit of a mystery.
It's a mystery to everybody at the moment until we get the iRacing official schedule. But let's talk a little bit about you. So a few seasons ago, you was heavily involved. Then you had a bit of a hiatus, and then you come back. How are you finding it now that you're back on the horse, so to speak?
Oh my goodness, I'm so deep into it. So I had a computer failure that I just could not solve, and at the time couldn't really afford to stick with it, and either purchase a new computer or and it didn't really have the time either to deal with the headache that can be PCs sometimes. But I'm back, and I'm into the VR. I've upgraded pedals, my wheel. I've gone through. I'm on my second different rig since I started back up a year ago, and yeah, things are looking up. Very excited just to be back into the hobby again.
Oh, well,
And your pace is up quite a bit too, Stephen. Over the last couple of years, you're up there fighting now.
you literally took the words out of my mouth there, Tony.
Well, I don't want to say that hardware can make you faster, but I think having a rig has made a big difference. Years ago, before my hiatus, I was just sitting at my desk, in the kind of truck driver position, and I think having better posture really helps. I went from V3s to Ultimates, which I think has really helped. Having a consistent brake pedal feel across every car. And being really able to dial in the brake pedal feel and have that consistency has really helped.
Well, I say Tony took the words out of my mouth there. I was literally going to say, you've had some mixed results this season, but when you're on it, you are properly on it now.
Yeah, it's fun to be closer to the front. Most part was a lot of fun. Playing with the setup, finding stuff that worked for me, and it was, I think, the first endurance round we've done that wasn't really a fuel saver, so we could really go flat out for every stint, and that's so much more fun to me than fuel saving. I hate fuel saving.
I must admit, I do love the tactical side of a fuel saving race, but I know it's not for everybody. But anyway, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate you and Ant and even Hoff trying to come into the first podcast. We're going to let you go now because we want to talk about the V8 League. And hopefully this won't be the last podcast you join, and you'll be able to come back at some point and tell us about how you won a V8 race.
Yeah, I would. It's first I want to get a podium. So yeah, thanks guys.
Yeah, baby steps, mate. Thanks for joining us, Stephen Phillips.
Appreciate you guys.
Right, guys, so we've had a couple of V8 drivers in. So now I think we'd better talk about the V8 ESC League. And I'm going to throw this one over to you, Tony. Obviously, you've been a mainstay from the inception of the league. As both helping out to organise it. I know you've come up with schedules, you've done setups for people, driver training, and also in all 11 seasons being a driver. So we know your love for the V8s, but what keeps you hanging around in this league?
Too old to learn to drive a second car.
Have you thought about learning the first one?
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
Well, no. Seriously, you have been here from the start, and I don't know. It's you had a couple of winning seasons at the start. Then we had the Foggy and Brandon sort of takeover, and they was winning it alongside, I think, Mike Taliancic as well, won a season, and now your teammate has usurped you and taken this V8 driving to another level, really.
Yeah, he certainly has. You mentioned it's 11 seasons, so I guess that's about 5 years now that we've been doing this. And, to be honest, I've seen some very, very talented drivers come to the series and unfortunately leave. It would be nice if they'd come back. But this is just a fun car to race with. It's challenging. Very challenging, and I think that's why some people give up on it a little bit too early. If they just stick with it a little bit longer and learn what the car wants to do, as opposed to trying to force it to drive like a GT3 car, they'd have a lot of fun. But I thoroughly enjoy this car, and I'm looking forward to the next iteration of it, hopefully coming out sometime later this year.
Yeah, and I'm sure Pete will agree with me here. From being when we was driving in the league before we was broadcasting, at the slower end of the league, shall we say? It's one of those cars that you do have to put a lot of time into it. There's no arrive and drive in the V8. But when you get it right, which in my case wasn't very often, but when you do, Pete, it's so rewarding, isn't it?
You're right. There's no halfway house, is there? You can't you can't kind of do it right because everybody annihilates you. It's as simple as that. I probably only had it right on a handful of occasions. I remember doing a really good race, obviously at Barber, and another race at Mid Ohio, where I did reasonably well, and the smile doesn't go off your face for a number of days once you've done a good set of laps and a good result overall. And you've been in the same conversations with people that you're not normally with, generally NQR drivers or Chimera drivers or XVR drivers, and you're thinking, I did really well there, but it doesn't happen regularly. It's one of those things that the cream really does rise to the top with V8, and those people are with particular teams, really, aren't they?
Yeah, and I always found driving the V8, it was a bit like my golfing skills. So I'd play a really good shot, but not know how I'd done a good shot. And then the next hole, I would do exactly the same shot, but it would go horribly wrong. And I found that was a lot of my frustration with the V8. I obviously wasn't, but I thought I was braking at the same place and turning in at the same place and carrying the same speed through the corner, but just getting different reactions from the car, every single time. And I think that was where my frustration came from. One thing I did mean to mention, whilst we was talking about GT4 TCR, and I'll get this in before we do it on V8s. I think Tony already said that his standout driver so far has been Stephen Walker and what he's doing in TCR. Who's been your standout driver so far this season in the GT4 TCR, Pete?
Ooh. GT4 TCR?
Yeah, sorry, that's a bit of a throwback there.
It is, yeah. Who's the standout driver this season, did you say?
So far, yeah.
Oh, dearie me.
It's not a trick question.
No, I know. He annoyed the snot out of me at Summit Point, and I think it has. I don't. It when you don't want to say what you want to say because a little bit of vomit comes up in your throat and you're trying to swallow it desperately. But Russell Cowell.
Yeah.
Annoying, isn't it? Because he blocked. We're talking about blocking later, and not the same type of blocking, but he put his car in an annoying situation at Summit Point, like you wouldn't believe for me. And there was no way around him. It was dead simple. I gave all I could, but he's had some really good podium positions. And I don't think he had those podium positions before this season. I think he's definitely worked his way forward.
Okay, well, I'll make you feel better because that was going to be my choice as well.
Hey!
I've said Russell and Shane have got results in them, and I think this season they're starting to bring it to everybody else. Right, let's get back to V8s. So we've had a couple of races so far this month. Round 10 Mosport endurance race, Tony, and a first win in the series for Tyler Hewitt.
Yeah, great result for Tyler. That team, Tyler and Adam, have really done well this year.
And Pete, after that we moved to Lime Rock Park, we've just heard from Stephen Phillips about his love for that track. And we was back to Champ Jackson winning everything.
Yeah. He did. It was of the Chris Jackson from last season, to be honest. Tony did really well in race 1. Kenzie did all right. We spoke before the broadcast started about Kenzie and his quitting the season, etc. Messages in Discord. Hopefully, he won't do that because he's obviously a huge talent that we want to maintain in the league because he's very entertaining. The second race, the feature race, Chris did another great job of sticking it out in front and staying there. Vincent did well, as I remember, in the second race. He's had a few crashy races so far, but that was a good one, and he managed to not crash so much. And Lime Rock is not the sort of track that you'd associate necessarily with V8s. It's a small track. It's got some tight, twisty corners. It's something that we've been there before. Don't get me wrong, but it's always been entertaining. But it doesn't lend itself to the standard V8 format, does it? It's something that's very unique.
Yeah, but then we went to Knock Hill, didn't we?
Yeah, true.
And that provided some fantastic racing. And obviously one that you missed there was Quitter Woodward coming home on the second step of the podium in the feature race.
Yeah, sorry, I've forgotten about that. And then that wasn't the race where he was saying he was quitting, was it?
No, I think it was Mosport that he quit, wasn't it? And then came back for Lime Rock Park. So, and Tony, obviously, me and Pete are not racing in this anymore because we thought we'd give other drivers a chance to win.
Yeah.
But how is it going for you this season? Are you happy with your results? Are you happy for Chris Jackson and his domination, or is it starting to get under your skin?
No, really happy for Chris. He works hard at it and deserves every amount of success that he's got. Am I happy with my season? I think it could be a little bit better. Bad luck at Red Bull Ring, where disconnected there at that track and lost a ton of points. But generally, I think I'm sort of in the area that I should be now, which is fighting for a podium. 4th, 5th, somewhere in that neighborhood. The competition in the league has elevated considerably, and I think you saw that at the qualifying at Lime Rock. Was there 15 cars separated by 1 second?
Yeah,
so and we're seeing that more and more, and so when it's that tight, it's obviously harder to get to the front, and especially with reverse grid races. So I find that my issue more than anything else these days is concentration. And if I just lose concentration for a split second, then I make a mistake, and maybe that's old age or something that's creeping in. But you have to be on it 100% of the time, otherwise it's just too easy to make a mistake in these cars.
Sorry, Pete. I just want to pick up on that. Obviously, there's nothing you can do about old age, but is there anything you can do to improve concentration?
Actually, there's some sports psychologists now that are actually diving into the sim racing world. So maybe it's something I need to take a look at.
Pete's obviously got a lot of experience with psychologists.
Psychiatrist, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
My question for you, Tony, is once upon a time, we used to, it was tongue-in-cheek, but it was also kind of true that Chris Jackson was Crash Jackson. Now he's the top of the league. If I'm to believe what I'm seeing on the screen, he's also the top of the Safe Driver Award, and he's also overtaken more people than anybody else in the league this season so far. How do you go through that kind of journey without obviously talking to Chris himself?
Well, if I could just speak to Chris's journey, I think that Chris just got fed up with crashing so often, and just made a very conscious effort to be maybe not as aggressive as he was at one time. And you see it now in the reverse grid races. You'll see him hanging back. He'll pick his points or his passing opportunities, and not do anything risky. And I think a level of maturity has developed with Chris that has allowed that to happen. So if anybody's wondering how to do that, I'd say those are the things: patience, and just be very conscious of what you're doing out there.
It's interesting that you say that. I like stats, as people know. I do like a good spreadsheet and a good graph. So, in my spare time, I've been going back through all of the results from season 1 onwards. I'm up to, I think I've just finished season 8 and just started season 9. And you can notice it is very noticeable, the change in Chris's accumulation of, on the good side, points, and on the bad, it's another good thing, but his accumulation of incident points going down through the seasons. Like I say, when I get to finishing season 9 and season 10, where Chris was phenomenal, it's going to be an upward trend on point collecting and podiums and wins, and a downward trend on incident points and all the bad side of the racing.
Yeah, and as I say, Chris has improved so dramatically over the last couple of seasons that he deserves all the success that he's currently having.
He certainly does. Because Chris is doing so well, he's running away with the Drivers' Championship, the Sim Ability Cup, there's I can't really see anybody challenging him for the rest of the season, unless he has a hockey accident or something like that and can't drive. I can see him pulling further away. And obviously that leads, to the team standings. I know some drivers don't take the teams that serious, but the way you split NQR this season, Tony, with North America and Europe, and having both teams in the top 3, that must be very pleasant on the eyeballs.
Yeah, it's really good. Chris has obviously got the majority of the points for our team, but great result, and a nice gap back to BSTV. But Tyler and Adam are coming for us. I can see that, and our NQR Europe team with Ant and Bob Woodhouse and Nikolai, they've had some good results as well, and really pleased with that team.
Yeah, and just obviously the other championships. So we got the Logan Jackson Safe Driver Award. Anybody that's listening that doesn't know anything about it, Logan is Chris Jackson's son, and he has agreed that whoever wins this championship, the Safe Driver Award this season, he is going to hand draw their car for them and send it to them, and I'm sure it's going to be worth millions and millions and millions and gazillions of pounds in the future.
We should disqualify Chris Jackson from that, because he's already got lots of pictures all over his fridge.
Yeah, but somebody that sticks out there in second place for me is Ivan Batmans, and I'm sure Ivan won't mind me saying that when he first started with us, he was a bit of a rolling crash pest. But he's shown a lot of improvement, especially this season and last season, Pete.
He has, yeah. Sorry. Caught me off guard there.
You're Pete.
Yeah. He's done very well, to be fair. He's far more safe now than I've ever seen before. He's had some reasonable finishes, to be honest. Top tens. And if you look at the Logan Jackson Safe Driver Award, as we all should, I'll never feature on that. He is currently second.
I think it's the most important championship because I've won it twice.
You've won it. I'm not going to go through the reasons why you've won it twice. Driving at 5 miles an hour does not constitute safe driving. Anyway, but yes, he has moved on a phenomenal amount. You see that white and blue car in some very competitive positions, and he's also not crashing anywhere near like he used to do.
No, definitely not. Then we go on to the Fred Bingham Forever Forward Award. Drivers get a point for every position they gain in the race. And Chris Jackson, obviously, with the reverse grids and winning race 1 and starting from 10th in race 2, he's putting on some great overtakes and he leads that championship by 10 points. And then the head-to-head, we're into the quarter-final stage. Stephen Phillips and Vincent Skilbeck, that's still up for grabs. Adam Wright and Kenzie Newhoff, that could be interesting because Adam was on holiday last time out. Kenzie didn't do so well, and we think he may not be at the next round, so Adam still has a chance in that. Chris Jackson and Simon Trendle, two really good drivers, but you really wouldn't want to be up against Chris Jackson at the moment. And then the fourth quarter final, Tony Klusterman and Nikolai Bogotyrev, with a bit of multi-21, Tony. I'm sure that you'll make it through that one into the semis.
Well, I think it's every man for himself when it comes to that.
But I think it's been a hell of a season so far. We've still got quite a way to go. We're only just over the halfway point. We've got Simability on board as the new principal sponsor. It was great to get Greg on the first broadcast, and his name's not Greg. What a div. But it's certainly, I think, we didn't know whether to put the league back on again because we'd had some great success, Tony, and then it dipped a little bit. Other things got in the way, with us starting this broadcasting thing, and then we thought, no, this is what started us off doing this. We've got to go for it again. We'll give it another season. We'll see if the interest is there. If the interest isn't there, then we'll send it into history. But the interest is back, and we've already planned a season 12.
Yeah, it's been really good this year. Some decent turnouts. Officials on Thursdays and Fridays are going live now, and I think that's bringing a couple of fellows over as well. So hopefully, it continues to be strong. It's a very good league, and everybody really enjoys it. I'm certainly glad that we're doing it again this year.
Yeah, most definitely. Right, so I'm going to start with you again, Pete, because I love putting you on the spot. Standout driver this season so far in the V8s?
Dear. Adam's done very well, hasn't he? And well, I'd say Kenzie, but obviously he's like throwing his toys out the pram. Chris is trying to retain his lead. Oh dear. Ryan is doing okay, but not in the top 3. I'm gonna have to go with Adam.
No, that's a fair call. Tony, who's your standout driver so far this season? And you can't vote for yourself.
And I guess I can't vote for Adam either. As
no,
Pete
you
already
can.
got.
No, that's fair. Yeah.
I'd have to say that there are a number of standout drivers, and I know I only get one pick, but Chris obviously is just on another planet this year, so that kind of rules him out of this because we expect him to do well anyways. But Tyler's had a great year. Adam's, I really, really enjoyed racing with Adam. We've had some just great battles, both in the league and in officials this year, and it's been a lot of fun. But I'm going to look somewhere else. I'm going to say that Bob Woodhouse has been one of the big improvers this year. And that's not to say that other people haven't improved, because Stephen Phillips, as I mentioned earlier, has improved. The Hoff's improved. We're seeing a lot of people up the game, and I think it's really hard to just shout out to one person.
Yeah, I must admit, when I was thinking about this earlier, there was probably, I don't know, at least half a dozen drivers on my list. Bob was in there, Stephen Phillips was in there, Chris Jackson was on the list, but I think you're right. You can't really go for Chris because you expect him to do well now. It's not an improvement because he's already up the top. Tyler, had his first win this month at Mosport. Adam's doing fantastically well. Like you said, Pete, Kenzie is right up there. But I think ultimately, and there's no bias in this, believe me, it was between Tyler and Adam. And I almost went for Tyler because he got that win. But I think Adam, I think with Tyler, we always knew it was there and it was coming. It was just when it was coming. Whereas with Adam, he's just for me, he's just moved on leaps and bounds. And I have a feeling it's because he's taking it seriously. And he's putting time into it, and we know that helps with this car. So yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with Pete and say Adam would be my pick on that. Right, at this point we have got another driver waiting in the wings, and let's see if we can hear him this time. Hoff, are you with us? I'm going to guess that's...
Really, I was going to do a really funny voice and go, yeah.
Yes.
That's nasty.
There you go. That woke him up. Hoff, welcome to the Poopcast.
Hello, everyone.
We're good. First of all, what is the time in your part of the world?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. The clock's upside down. It is 5:45 in the morning.
Yeah, you are absolutely mental, my friends.
That's not normal.
No, definitely dedicated.
Yeah.
So, Tony's already said, I don't know if he was listening, but he's impressed with your improvements this season. What do you put that down to?
The People's Champ, actually. We get setups, and Jamie sort of gives me a rundown on how to drive it. I think Tony would agree that when you have a setup, you've got to know how to use the setup effectively. But I'm home every night. I'm living a real human life now, so I do a lot more practicing. So all that counts, and basically being around people my own speed has just brought me on faster, and actually coaching other people, which I'm doing now, has helped as well. So a wide variety.
Okay, so like we've said before with this car, practice certainly helps. And I suppose you trucking all across Australia didn't help with your practice. But I'd go a little bit further than that and say you've had a change in attitude as well. I always used to giggle at your posts where you've done fantastically well in a private test session, and then you'd get into the race and you was absolutely nowhere. Whereas now you're a bit more. I don't know what words I'm looking for. This is my pace. And rather than trying to overdrive the car and go as quick as everybody else, I'm going to make sure that I keep the car on track and finish the race. And I think your results are improving because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Johnny Brandon actually gave a clue a while back, which was
never heard of her.
Yeah, it was that.
Oh, right, okay.
Who's she?
Yeah, she actually said you go out and do a couple of laps and see how it feels and a few adjustments. But with fixed setups, I probably do half a tank full, absolutely on the edge. And then I'll go out and do another handful of laps, which is a bit more subdued. And look at the tyre wear in it between those times, and then it becomes a lap time that I want to stick to. Pretty much, where were we? Belle Isle. I pretty much ran the same lap time the entire race. It didn't change much. And the other thing too is I look very carefully at what other cars are doing during practice, whether they're overdriving the car, whether they've got a bit more to spare, and where I sort of fit in the grid, and that's what I stick to.
Well, that's not a bad philosophy. Pete, any questions for the Hoff?
What's going to make you think I need to finish the race rather than be fast? I don't know whether you've already answered that in your previous answer, but it's not exactly the same as doing a fast qualifying lap or practice lap and then not replicating it lap after lap in the race. It's more a self-preservation piece.
Yeah, it is. Self-preservation is key. It all comes down to points. Comes down to I might start towards the rear, but I've looked at what people have done during practice, and this is probably where I'm going to end up in the end. So, yeah, it's I don't know what's the word. It's just being conservative, but keeping it off walls, keeping it off the grass, keeping out of Tony's way so he doesn't pump me off. Oh, sorry, Tony. Yeah, just basically finding a pace and sticking to it.
Yeah,
Right, okay.
Good philosophy. And Tony, obviously you mentioned Hoff's improvement this season. Is there anything that we haven't mentioned yet that you think he's doing better than he did before?
I think that I've watched a lot of the V8 Vets races, which Hoff is participating in this year. It's a fixed setup series, so you just learn to drive the set that they give you. But really, really steady, smart racing. And I think that was evidence this past week. Was it Road Atlanta that you were at, Hoff?
Sorry, Road Atlanta, the last one, yes, it was.
Yeah, and you finished second there with a great fuel strategy. I think I saw only one off from you in 60 odd laps. So I think just good, smart racing on your part.
Yeah, that was that one off was due to a lap car, but I went back to 14th and then ran a fuel strat that Jamie ran at Phillip Island and finished second, so I was over the moon. And thanks, and thank you for that, Tony. That means a lot.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us, Hoff. We've still got a load to get through, so we've got to let you go. But don't be a stranger. We're doing this every month. Keep up the improvements and make sure you come back and talk to us again.
Oh, will do. I've only just found me pace, and there's more pace to come as I go along. So, hopefully I'll be further up the field.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to seeing that. Thank you very much, Andrew Hoffman.
Cheers.
Right, guys, let's get things moving again. And last night, Pete, we dipped our collective toes into the world of open wheel racing, or as we've renamed it, no door racing.
Yes.
And it was a phenomenal success.
Unbelievable. I don't know where to begin. I used to race Star Mazda back in the day. Some of the viewers will recognise that as a championship. I raced IndyCar Pro after that, and this F4 that they've created is excellent. We saw last night that it was a huge drafting car, and a car that will entertain all season long. And it was just hilarious. I don't think I've laughed that much on a race ever.
Yeah, very true. I think, as we said on the broadcast last night, Pete did have a little bit of wee coming out at one point. Tony, did you catch that broadcast?
No, unfortunately, I didn't.
Well, I would fully recommend that you find it and watch it. It was, at points in the race, it was like somebody was first and everybody else was second. We had 2 wide, 3 wide, 4 wide. It was very clean. It was very respectful. And yeah, I just can't wait for the next one, and just waiting for the grid to grow now. So we haven't got much in the way of results and standings for you, but we had a new driver last night, Pete, who's not been in any of our series so far. A fellow Canadian, Tony, called Carter Hutchison, and he certainly knew how to wheel that F4 car around.
He did, and I have to say, I wish I'd looked at the I ratings beforehand, because I'd have realised why he was up at the front. I don't think I can count that high without taking several people's shoes and socks off. He did a fantastic job, and fits in very well with the sportsmanship mentality of the people we have racing already. What an excellent racer he is. It certainly proved that this is going to be a what did you call it? A grower, not a shower.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the other thing was Skip Barber's on steroids, because that's certainly what it looked like with those cars going around. And you know, some of the drivers said in the interviews, I've mentioned it on Discord today. It's a car that doesn't need a lot of practice. There's an hour-long practice session as usual before the racing starts, and that's enough to learn the track and the car combo. It is a proper arrive and drive. You know, you don't have to spend hours, days, weeks, months practicing before each race. So, you know, if you didn't watch it last night, get yourself a look at what happened. It was absolutely fantastic. And I'll expect your sign-ups in the morning. Not going to go through the standings because we've only had 2 races. As we said, Carter Hutchison won and Tyler Newitt won the second race. The championship standings are tight because we've only had 2 races, and I'm, you know, it's just going to be, I think, an absolutely phenomenal season. And next time we do the Poopcast, when we do episode 2, we'll have a lot more to talk about on the Alt F4 Championship. So we've got another driver that wants to come and talk to us. That driver is Mr. Tyler Newitt, and we can't really pin him to any one series because, like Jamie Wilson, he is a serial BSTVer and tends to drive a bit of everything. So welcome to the booth, Tyler Newitt.
Hello.
Hello. So, what do you want to talk to us about?
I don't know. I didn't think you were going to pull me in. It sounded like you were getting towards the end, and I didn't want to waste, or I figured you wouldn't want to waste your time. But I was just turning some laps at Imola, so I jumped in the
Talking to you, my friend, is never a waste of time. So I'll tell you what we'll talk about. Let's talk about your maiden victory in the V8 Championship. Pulled off with strategy as well as great driving. I said at the time, and I still believe it, it was long overdue. I think you should have won a long time ago. But now you've got that monkey off your back, so to speak. Are we going to see more wins coming in a hurry?
Probably not. If we're being realistic, it's most sport's been a good track for me lately, so I, was pushing pretty hard because I felt like it was probably my last chance for a while. Not that I don't get along with the other tracks on the schedule, but it's I don't know that I'm going to have race winning pace from here on out. I mean, I could get lucky at some point, but yeah, I just have felt, I think, the most in tune with the car that I've felt the last few weeks, because I've been putting, I think, good practice time in instead of just a lot of practice time, and it paid off.
But to be fair, that it wasn't a lucky win, was it? It wasn't like all the usual fast guys wiped each other out and you came through from 8th place and said thank you very much. It was a well constructed endurance race that ultimately saw you take away the top prize.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. No, it was definitely, I don't mean to sell myself short, but yeah, I think the thing, the way the tracks have gone for me in the V8 is I've always kind of struggled with just straight line braking performance. I think that's where a lot of the really quick guys tend to beat me. And most sport, really the only corner you get that is Moss. Everywhere else is more a momentum corner, and that's what I've generally been good at. It's why Bathurst suits me too. So I I don't know that just turning a few laps at Imola here. There's I don't think this is going to go quite as well for me, but we'll see. We'll see.
Oh, we certainly will. Pete, have you got anything for Tyler?
So last night in the F4 Championship, you had very very little practice at all, but you were very successful. What do you put that down to?
I don't know. It was. I mean, that's the kind of car I normally get along with and get up to speed with more. Something with a little downforce. The only reason I haven't driven more downforce stuff is because all of our leagues are not downforce cars, so
Yeah.
it wasn't really an option. But I think the car suited me, and as Clyde mentioned several times, it's a car that's really easy to get up to speed with in general. It doesn't require a ton of practice to be pretty close. Well, really, what you needed to be last night at least was quick enough to stay in the tow. And I think Carter was clearly the quickest guy there. But I think myself and Jamie and Wobbly and Gary, by the end of the second race, we all had enough pace that we could, stay in the draft. And once you were in the draft, it's anybody's race. You just have to time it right. It helped that Carter had damage, but I think, I felt pretty good about where I was as far as pace in the first race. I just, lost the draft and was maybe a tenth a lap slower than Carter, and he slowly walked away and pulled Jamie with him. So I think that's really what it is, to have success in that car, you don't need to be the outright quickest driver flat out every lap. You just need to be quick enough.
Sense. And in terms of V8s, how much time are you able to allocate to the practice for that?
It depends. It week to week varies quite a bit, just with my work schedule and other stuff. I've been pretty much, as much as I'd like to do some of the officials, because I do get every other Friday off. I just have been trying to focus on the league races, because that's what I can put the time into. So, if I do have free weekends, I'm usually putting in, I don't know, an hour or two a day, and then it's probably a half hour or so here or there whenever I get the chance in those 2 weeks. So I just jumped on today because I did a few laps yesterday and felt all right, but wanted to see if I could, put a little more time in, because I'm probably going to be busy this week. So I would say I'm putting on average 2-ish hours of practice in. More for Bathurst because it's Bathurst, but everywhere else, about 2-ish hours of practice over the course of the preceding 2 weeks.
Well, I think it's certainly paying off. And Tony, Tyler is a driver that is up with your pace now. So another rival to take some big points away from you.
Yeah, I think Tyler's selling himself short. He's very quick. Enjoy racing with Tyler. Based on the time that he posted for Imola, he'll be at the pointy end, I'm very, very sure. The only thing we need to watch out for at Imola is the off tracks. There may be a couple of drive-throughs because of the way the off tracks are set up there for that track.
Yeah, it's I was just gonna say it's there are just a few corners that are not designed with V8s in mind as far as the off tracks are concerned, because these cars like to use all of the available road, and the off track system doesn't seem to want you doing that. So yeah, people who don't have the time to put in the time, I think that's probably where they're going to struggle.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more there. Well, anyway, mate, we're getting towards the end of the show, so we're going to let you go. But thanks for popping in and giving us your words of wisdom, and we look forward to seeing you out on track next Saturday.
Yep. See you then.
Catch you later. Right, guys, now it's time for the main event. It is Garage 101. Now, as I explained at the start, people outside of the UK might not know anything about this, so a little bit of history. There is a mythical room within the British Broadcasting Corporation called Room 101, and all of the crap ideas go into Room 101 and they're never seen again. So we have invented Garage 101, and the way this works is each week myself, Pete, and whoever our special guest is, Tony in this case, will bring something with them that they would like to put into Garage 101, and it will then be confined to the annals of history. To get it in, obviously the person bringing it will vote for that thing, and they have to convince one of the other two people within the booth to put it into Garage 101. If they can't convince one of those other two people, it stays in the mainstream and we can talk about it forevermore. So I'm going to kick this off, guys, so we see how well or how badly it goes. And what I've brought with me, and I've brought this up before, is the word straight away. Now, I'm really glad that we've got Tony in the booth, because this seems to be a North American thing. So, I'm going to start with you, Tony. My argument is, a straight is a straight. It's not a straightaway. You don't call turns turnaways, or pit entryaways, or pit exitaways. So why is a straightaway, and why should we keep it in the mainstream?
I thought you were supposed to tell us why we should get rid of it. I'm just looking at this little photo of the. Is that a Mercedes or what is that?
That's Pete's car.
Is it really?
Yeah,
and
it
what's
is,
that in the back window?
That's Pete's girlfriend.
It is solid gold.
And you can see the air pump, that little green thing.
Right, okay, I got it now, yeah.
Just called Ingrid.
We digress. Straight away, because you're going away on the straight.
And that's it, is it? You're going away on the straight. So
yeah, it's very simple.
You're going away on a turn. So why isn't it a turn away?
No, you're turning on a turn.
Right, I'm not having any of that.
You're not straighting on a straightaway.
Pete, come on. Why should straightaway not go into Garage 101?
I'm struggling to find a reason to save it from Room 101, Garage 101. Sorry, you're right. Straight away, turn away, bend away. Crash away. I do that a lot. I have no defence against this. I don't have a counter argument. I'm sorry.
Okay, so Tony, straight away, Garage 101 or not?
Well, seeing it's your broadcast, Clyde, and you make the end decision, I'll agree with you.
Hey, Pete, it doesn't matter now, but Garage 101.
It doesn't. It's two. It'd be 2 against 1 anyway, and I think it needs to be 3 against 0 because I can't find an alternative argument.
Excellent. So the word straight away will never be mentioned again. Right, Pete, let's bring in your choice, shall we? And it's blocking. So why do you want blocking into Garage 101?
So let me define what I'm talking about here. because it needs a definition. There's blocking, which is I'll nail myself to the advantageous side of the track to stop somebody getting an advantage into the next corner. I'm fine with that. What I'm not fine with is someone who does that, and then when you dive for the opposite side and you've got momentum in your favour, for them to suddenly change and weave across the track in order to block you there as well. I find it horrendous, and I find it a form of cheating, and it's the thing that makes me go absolutely apoplectic when I'm actually at the wheel myself. And that's because I'm not as talented as the likes of Tony and Chris Jackson and others who can just sail past people on momentum alone. I have to manufacture decent ways to get past people, and this is something that stops me doing any of that. So blocking for me needs to go into Garage 101.
Okay, Tony, do you agree with Pete, or do you disagree with Pete?
Well, I think what Pete's talking about is defending your position, and if F1 is any sort of an example, I think that we see a lot of that type of defending, and it's supported generally.
Okay, and my question to you, Pete, is it blocking, or is it just the car in front of you is quicker and you can't get past them?
There's 50% of both, if I'm being honest. But the ones that I really take exception to, and the ones that I want to be included in Garage 101, are the ones that think that they're doing the right thing and the clever thing, which is to stay on the ultimately defensive line. And that's a good tactic to take. But then when they realise that actually you're carrying more momentum than they are, and you will eventually overhaul them by the end of the straight, they take a second manoeuvre on the straight and then block you in a secondary way.
Yeah, I must admit I am struggling with this one because I do like a good block, but I think there's a time and a place for it. So, last couple of laps, open the doors if you've got doors, do everything you can to stop that person getting past you. What I don't like is people that block at the start of races. It's a 30-minute, an hour, a 2-hour race, and people are blocking on lap 3, and ultimately slowing themselves down, as well as the car behind them. Tony, blocking, does that go into Garage 101 in your opinion?
I think the only way you can go into Garage 101 is if it's enforced. Is Pete going to enforce it during the race?
Yeah. I'm sorry, Pete, but I couldn't put that in there because I think a block has got a place, a time, and a purpose. I do understand that it's frustrating in the wrong sort of circumstances, but I think blocking in general, I think we're going to have to keep in the public domain.
Oh, so disappointed. I thought better of both of you.
Right, okay, so now we bring in Tony's choice, and I do like this one. Porpoising. That's nothing to do with chasing fat birds around a nightclub, Pete, just so you know.
Right. Should I leave?
Tony, tell us why porpoising should go into Garage 101.
Well, for those that don't know what porpoising is, I've just put up a little YouTube video in the main chat so that people can have a look and see. But hear me out here. Porpoising is this very strange effect that's happening in Formula One these days. And I have a number of reasons why it needs to go into Garage 101. First off, porpoising, porpoises in general, are an endangered species. In fact, the vaquita porpoise is the rarest marine mammal in the world. There's only 10 left, and they have no place being on a racetrack. Secondly, we should call it what it is. They're bouncing. They're bouncing up and down. And you'd think that the Formula One engineers would be able to design a set of shocks that would prevent the car from bouncing so severely. In fact, they're bouncing so severely that George Russell's car on Friday, I believe, broke the floorboard on the vehicle. Now, if it's breaking a carbon fiber floorboard on a Formula One car, what's it doing to the driver's back, his teeth, his brain, his eyes? It's a safety issue for sure, in my mind. On top of all of that, porpoising and ground effects, as it is, originally started back in 1961 with Jim Hall and his chaparrals. They first tried with very high wings, and then they worked on side skirts and sucker cars and fans on the cars. And eventually the FIA banned aerodynamic floors such as they're using today back in 1983. And I'm really surprised that 40 years later, they've allowed it to happen again. I just don't see the point.
Well, first of all, I love the fact that you've put loads of research into that. That is absolutely fantastic.
Well, Clyde, if I could, my first choice was cake. And that we should not...
You know that would never happen.
We should not allow cake during the broadcast because it interferes with the broadcast.
I support your motion, Tony.
I will let you into a little secret. The viewers of the broadcast actually look forward and ask me what type of cake I'm eating. So that's a mainstay of the broadcast. But back to porpoising. You hit the nail on the head for me, most definitely. Why, and not just motor racing, but they do it a lot. Why do they come up with these stupid words to describe something so simple like bouncing? That's my first problem. My second problem, again, I agree with you, Tony, is if you can design a car to do over 200 miles an hour and go round cornerways at phenomenal speeds, why can you then not stop that car from bouncing up and down? There are many brain cells in motor racing, and especially Formula One, and they get paid a lot of money, and I don't get it. I think in the case of Mercedes, it's, I don't know, they meant, I did catch a bit of the F1 today. I'm not really a big F1 fan, but they were on about the Mercedes having no or irregular side pods, and therefore the floor isn't supported, and that's why it goes up and down. I don't care. You've got billions and billions and trillions of pounds. Just make another car. Pete, porpoising.
So, point one, the picture that we're using for this is, I think, the Mercedes-Benz SL, the R107, and it's a car that I think is fantastic. I've never seen it with that many exhaust pipes, it has to be said, and I love it. One of the people that I wanted to, women I wanted to date the most, had her uncle had a car which was exactly that, but in red. Anyway, that's beside the point. Porpoising, bouncing. I don't know how you can ban it. As in, put it in room or garage 101 in the fact that it exists as a thing. It'd be like putting, let me think, gravity into garage 101. It's a thing. It exists regardless of what people want to do. If race engineers want it to exist so that the drivers have to have their dentists replace their fillings every 3 weeks, then that's fine in my opinion, because the racing car drivers earn an enormous amount of money and therefore can afford it. I'm not sure that porpoising or bouncing is something that I could put into room or garage 101. Likewise, calling it porpoising is ridiculous, because I don't see how it relates to dolphins or short fin pilot whales or any of the other things that we can biologically categorize as a porpoise. So I'm going to go with no.
Okay, well, I've got a question for Tony. Is it... what do you want in Garage 101? Is it the effect of porpoising, or is it the word porpoising?
Well, I want both, actually, because it is bouncing and it is ridiculous, and I think we see this by what's happening in F1 today. Lewis Hamilton will never win another race as long as they allow this to happen. They mentioned today that they're actually having to lift up on the straights because the faster they go, the more it bounces. And you'd think that they'd be able to get a set of dampers or shock absorbers in North America that could handle that.
Right, okay, so looks like the deciding vote is mine. I think the word is ridiculous. Whales go up and down. Why don't they go whaling?
Whoa. Yeah, exactly. It's a ridiculous thing, isn't it?
There's lots of things that go up and down, and there's many words that they could have chosen, but they chose porpoising. So yeah, do you know what? I'm going to agree with Tony.
My God!
I think basically not the action for me. It's more because it should be called bouncing. And they shouldn't be using the word porpoising. So, as a word, I'm definitely gonna confine that to the annals of history. Porpoising and straight away will never be mentioned again. Blocking, we're gonna fully encourage. Anybody still listening, or anybody listening to this on Dave Plus One, obviously if you've got anything that you would like to put into Garage 101, drop us a message and we will introduce a viewer's choice and we'll take it from there. Alternatively, you can get in touch and apply to be a special guest and bring your own thing with you. Look, thanks for that, guys. I thought that was quite interesting, and I think it's going to get sillier and more serious as the Poopcasts go on. So that is really it for all of the rubbish that we wanted to talk about tonight. Coming up in May, we've got a very busy month broadcasting wise. Dates are on your screen. Kicking off on the 4th with round 8 of the GT4 TCR series, and we round out the month on the 29th with Poopcast episode Duh. I would like to thank Pete for joining me. Not that he's got any choice. He's signed up and he's under the whip. Tony for being our first ever special guest. I hope he enjoyed it. Thanks to everybody for listening. Thanks to the Hoff. Thanks to Ant. Thanks to Tyler. And thanks to Stephen for jumping in the interview room and joining in the Poopcast. I'm going to say goodnight. Let the guys say goodnight. And then we'll close episode and get back to some more serious stuff. So, again, thanks for watching, everybody. And we'll catch you next time out. Good night.
Good night.
Yeah. Good night, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.